Let's talk about the social network side in just a moment. But the important thing is, if all of these avenues are now open and barriers to entry are easier, is the marketing community typically steeped in old tradition? Are they actually embracing this? I would suggest to you there's a reticence.
I think you're right. I think there still is a little bit of a reticence, although we're starting to see that marketers are more open to experimenting. I think to some extent it's been driven by need to look for ROI and for measurability. I mean, in an environment where ROI is becoming increasingly important, budgets are shrinking, you need to look for more effective mediums, and digital is starting to present that.
You talk about high-value brand messages versus long, engaging, experiential messages. Decode that for me.
Okay, I mean, I think in simple terms, I mean, the way I like to talk about it is there's this move away from a 30-second ad to what I call a 30-day ad. And what I mean by that is that you've got brands that are broadcasting a message, so it's one-to-many broadcast. They're pushing this message that's coming from the brand. But there's a move away from that into, certainly through social media, where your brand consumers are having a conversation with each other, and the brand can now start listening to those conversations in their social media spaces and try and influence those conversations. You can also start presenting content in that space. So, for example, you could look at the production of a range of content that you would release over a period. I mean, Old Spice did that really well. Got 28 million views on YouTube, where they created a series of ads that they released online. Lower production values, longer engagement, much richer engagement.
But high-end creativity.
High-end creativity and deep engagement. You know, people are spending 5-6 minutes viewing those ads, engaging with them, whereas, you know, where can you spend that kind of time with your consumer?
Often those conversations that you refer to can be uncomfortable for brands and for marketers. Have you just got to get over yourself?
I think that's right. You know, I think at the end of the day, those conversations are happening anyway. They're just a lot more visible. And I think that brands should embrace it, because now they can start influencing those conversations. You know, before they never had the means to influence those conversations. And also, I think they're a valuable source of real-time insight and research, which you can't necessarily get out of traditional research.
It can't be overt influence of the conversation, though, can it?
No, brands
people will see through that.
Exactly. I mean, brands need to be credible, and the tone needs to be credible. You have to make yourself vulnerable as a brand, so you need to accept, you know, the challenges. But and that's where I think, and you mentioned the reticence before and the nervousness. I think that's where brands are quite nervous. Is, you know, how do they create that tone? They're not used to speaking in that tone, and that's where we come in, and that's where the digital agencies need to start playing a role.
Should there be such a thing as a digital marketing officer, someone who looks after that side entirely, or is it an integrated approach within an organization?
I definitely feel that there's a need for someone to own digital in the organization. I think over time there'll be convergence, but right now I think someone needs to take ownership. Someone who the internal marketing team can believe in and can see as a credible source of evaluating the opportunities. And the digital definitely needs a custodian. I mean, to some extent in the States now, they're even appointing chief listening officers who are social media individuals who listen to conversations on behalf of the brands.
Brent, there's a lot to wade through here, and we're going to have you back at some point. But just a final question to you. What about the hype around mobile, particularly in this country? Surely that's where this whole notion of digital marketing is actually most important, given the high penetration we've got in this country.
I agree. I think, you know, I think to some extent the expectations on mobile have been a little overrated until now, because there has been a high penetration, but the channels have been very light in terms of mainly SMS and USSD. But what we're seeing with the big telcos is, you know, voice. You know, the growth's not going to come from voice anymore, so data is a big drive. And to get data revenues, they have to get smartphones into the market. So we're going to see a proliferation of smartphones coming into the market over the next year or two, which means that we can do richer things on mobile. And as I said, you know, we're looking at 12 million people on mobile, of which probably 40–50% of that are WAP enabled. So there's an opportunity to do some richer stuff. Micropayments have also become really big, and I think that, and couponing, and I think we're going to see more of that.
That was Aqua Online Chief Executive Brent Shahim, and coming up on the